Blessings, blessings. We're taking inserts from Chosen People, audio clips from the Prayer.com series with Yael Eckstein.
קורא ישמור את נפשך, אדוני ישמור צאתך ובטחך מעתה ועד עולם.
This story is incredible. It's like I'm standing there among my ancestors, looking up at the sky in wonder. Can you imagine? And then every morning, finding the ground covered with bread from heaven. Have you ever wondered why Israelites had to gather the manna every day? Why couldn't they just store it and avoid the daily effort? Well, the answer is pretty profound. You see, the manna wasn't just for feeding their bodies. It was for growing their faith one day at a time. It reminded the chosen people each and every day that God was their provider, not just for their physical needs, but also for their spiritual well-being. The Jewish sages suggest that the manna, while looking the same to everyone, tasted differently depending on what each person wanted. Isn't that a wonderful picture of our relationship with God? He knows each of our favorite foods. He knows each of our needs, and he meets us right where we are. There's a verse in this story I'd like to take a closer look at. In verse 5, God tells the Israelites that, quote, on the sixth day they are to prepare what they bring in, and that is to be twice as much as they gather on the other days, end quote. Here the Bible tells us that a double portion of the manna fell on Friday, and that no manna fell on Saturday, on Shabbat, the Sabbath. This was to emphasize how different the Sabbath was to be from the other days of the week, that we must rest, just as God rested on the seventh day of creation. What's interesting is that we still commemorate the manna every single Shabbat. At each of the Sabbath meals, we have 2 whole loaves of bread on the table. Usually the special Shabbat bread is called challah. Those 2 loaves that are on the Shabbat table represent the double portion of the manna that fell on Friday. God's promise to us that if we observe the Sabbath as a day of rest and spirituality, he will make sure that we are not disadvantaged by refraining from work on that day. Even as we cover the challah with a decorative cloth that represents the dew that enclosed the manna, we even cover the challah with a decorative cloth that represents the dew that enclosed the manna after it fell to the ground from heaven. It really does feel good to eat heavenly bread every single Shabbat. One of my favorite places here in Israel is the Jaffa Flea Market. For me, it's an adventure rummaging through layers of history woven into eclectic items. But I have a friend who sees so much more as she digs through the piles of things for sale. She gazes at what others disregard as trash, and she sees treasures. She buys things that I wouldn't give a second glance. And when she brings her treasures home, they transform into priceless pieces of art. Her ability to see beauty in the strange and the unattractive always inspires me. It reminds me that life is shaped by our perception. When the manna first appeared, the Israelites were puzzled. They asked, "What is it?" In Hebrew, you say, man hu, which is how its manna got its name. But just as God sent manna to the Israelites, he sends us what we need each day through our experiences, the people we meet, the weather that we encounter, and anything else that unfolds around us. It's not just chance, it's destiny. Like the Israelites, we often look at our circumstances and ask, man hu, what is it? Is it good or is it bad? And just as the Israelites could determine the taste of the manna, we should remember to shape the flavor of our lives. It's not what happens to us that matters. It's how we choose to feel about what happens. You see, if we decide that life is terrible, then life really will be terrible. But on the other hand, if we believe that everything is ultimately for the best, then we will experience life as God's blessings.
word of our testimony. Did not love our lives to the death.
Sometimes you just gotta be about it. Subscribe and get down with it. The Lord bless you and faithfully serve.